Hi everybody, foXnoMad here, and today I want to help you travel smarter by showing you what it's like in Istanbul right now, how the city is considering all the COVID-19 restriction lockdowns, and now that those lockdowns are being eased, I wanted to give you a look at the new normal in Istanbul. So starting in about March, for about 3 months, there were some pretty strict lockdowns in Istanbul and all over Turkey. I made a video about that, which I'll link to up there if you want to take a look and see what that's like. But over time, over the past 6 weeks, since those restrictions have slowly been lifted, things are kind of getting back to normal, at least to a new normal. Even when you compare the footage between these two videos, one right before quarantine and the one just a couple of days ago, can you guess which one is which? You can see that they're almost like two different cities. I did a whole video about what that quarantine was like, so I'll link to that up there if you want to check that out. But I decided this week to go to a lot of those same areas to show you how different it is now compared to what it was like then, and basically how this new normal is starting to shape up here. Now, I'm not going to go into specific rules because those are likely going to change by the time you're watching this video, but I wanted to show you how these areas that as a traveler you're most likely to visit, I wanted to show you what those look like right now. So what life is like, if you can go out and eat, and all the different types of ways that this COVID-19 has changed the city. So going back to the beginning of the end of the quarantines here in Istanbul back in early June, it took about 10 days for things to kind of start rolling. I noticed the first couple days after quarantine, a lot of people just weren't going out. And I think it took some time for people to adjust to the fact that they could go out. So basically getting used to being out and not having to worry about restrictions. So that took a couple of days, but over about 10 days, that really ramped up. And now things look a lot more normal. The people who could, so the locals who live in Istanbul, those who could went to the beach. So a lot of people just left, which is pretty common in the summers here. And with a lot less tourists, the city is a lot more empty in summer, even more than normal than it usually is at this time of the year. At the moment, masks are mandatory in public, so you see a lot of people wearing masks. But as it's gotten hotter and hotter, I notice people are starting to slip on their mask game. So you see a lot of people with masks right under their nose. And as the temperature goes up, you see a lot of people just wearing masks under their chin. You do see a lot of people that are wearing masks just around their arms, so they take it off for a while and it's strapped conspicuously on their arms, but they're not wearing it. Also, if you're smoking, no mask. Talking on the phone, no mask there either in most cases. But again, generally in public, people are wearing their masks. Restaurants and cafes are open, so if you're worried about missing out on cafe life or going out to eat, that's pretty much open now. So if you come to Istanbul, you can pretty much go out and eat. A lot of places do require masks, but they have outdoor seating where people are not really wearing masks. And if you're going out to eat, a mask isn't quite practical. Most places are pretty good about it, but not everywhere is super diligent about social distancing, so they don't leave those different seats in between people. But in general, it's still pretty good. Plus, you've got all this outdoor seating, so you've got a lot more space to work with. And the fact that the city is a lot less crowded right now means generally that a lot of places right now are a lot less crowded. On public transportation, people are really good about social distancing. On the metro, for example, there's usually a seat in between every person. And on buses, the same is true. People are pretty good about social distancing and wearing their masks. If you're grocery shopping, masks are required there as well, but most places have hand sanitizing stations where you can quickly sanitize your hands. And a lot of the larger markets as well provide plastic gloves. So when you're picking up produce, you can just put on one of those plastic gloves and pick up all your stuff. So there's definitely changes in terms of what you see. So you see people with masks, you see sanitizing stations pretty much everywhere. You see a lot of those. You see a lot more hand sanitizer just everywhere pretty much. And you also see a lot of signs reminding people to keep social distances and to make sure that they're wearing their masks and following all the rules. At malls and restaurants and places where you would expect a larger group of people, there are usually temperature checks. So they use the forehead gun right there just to grab your temperature before you go in. That's pretty common as well. You see that in a lot of places. I mean, overall, people in Turkey are pretty obsessive about cleanliness. So much so that when guests come over to your house, you usually sanitize their hands with lemon cologne. If you want to learn more about that entire tradition, I'll link to a BBC article down in the description below, which talks all about it. But that obsessiveness with cleanliness carries over into restaurants and hotels and a lot of places that you would be. People are cleaning tabletops more, they're cleaning chairs at hotels, they're cleaning doorknobs, things that you would touch often, they're just sanitizing it all the time. And now they're cleaning things even more regularly. I mean, very very regularly. So aside from all these logical reasons to do all this sanitizing during a pandemic, there are also some other major contributors as to why places are so diligent about this. And that's because Turkey relies on tourism. Last year, it made over $30 billion in tourism revenue altogether. And right now, a lot of businesses in the tourism sector are really struggling, so they can't risk a second wave, and they've got to really keep their standards pretty high. And you do see that across the tourism industry in general. Tourists aren't very easy to come by these days, so a lot of businesses know that if they don't keep everything in tip-top shape, then that could mean the difference between them staying or going out of business. On the flip side, for tourists, right now, Turkey and Istanbul in general is an interesting time to be here. The city, like I said, is not as crowded because locals have gone to the beach, but also there are not a lot of tourists here. So if you want to go to some of the touristic sites, you're going to have a lot of those to yourself. Restaurants, cafes, basically any place that would be popular right now is less crowded because there are just fewer people both in the city locally, but also just fewer travelers coming here altogether. And with that lower demand means you're going to find better deals. So even if you don't feel comfortable traveling right now, it might be a good time to start looking at some 2021 vacation plans. Obviously, before you make any plans or book anything, check with your embassy to see what the local rules are and the restrictions, because things change rapidly, have been changing rapidly, and 2020 is not done with us yet. Thanks for watching this glimpse into Istanbul and what life is like here. I'd be interested to see or hear what it's like where you are. Let me know down in the comments below. And while you're down there, hit the like and subscribe buttons. I'll have new videos for you every week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.